let's look at some basic circle terminology. So in a circle, we've got what we call a circumference, being that. So we call these a circumference. And then we've got what we call a segment. So a segment is just a piece, or it's just a portion of your circle. So for example, if I draw this line here in the diameter, I've now created two segments, being the top segment and also have that bottom segment. And a segment, I can create it either using a diameter or even a chord. Before we move to a chord, let us first look at so we say the diameter is a line that passes from the circumference through the center to the other end of the circumference, the diameter. So it must pass through the center. But now we've got what you call a radius, being a line from the center to the circumference. And you can draw as many radiuses as you can, which we can say radiuses, or you can say it's radii. And all these radiuses, remember, they are equal in length. So if this radius is 4, then any other radius in the circle is going to be equal to 4. That is a very important aspect about radiuses. And then we've got what we call a chord. So a chord, so I've got a center here, O. So a chord is a line that is drawn from the circumference to the other end of the circumference, but it doesn't pass through the center. So we call it a chord. But a diameter, similar to a chord, except that it passes through the center. So now this becomes a diameter. It's a difference between the chord and the diameter. A chord does not pass through the center, but the diameter passes through the center. And then, so we can also create a segment using a chord. For example, if this is my circle, then this is the center. I've got this chord here. I've created segments now. I've got the top segment, and then I've got the bottom segment here. So a segment can be created through using a diameter or a chord. And then we've got an arc being just a portion of the circumference. This will be an arc. That is an arc. It's not the full circumference, but it's just a portion of the circumference. And then we've got what we call a tangent. A tangent is a line that touches the circle at only one point. So I've got a line here, touches the circle at this point only. So we'll call this now a tangent. You can draw it anywhere as long as it touches the circle once. Tangent, or it can be drawn here. Okay, maybe here, still a tangent. But now if I do this, you can see now this line touches the graph there, touches the circle, I mean, at this point and at that point. So it is no longer a tangent, but we now call it a secant or secant. So now we'll call it a secant. So a difference between a tangent and a secant is that a tangent touches the circle at only one point, but the secant can touch your circle at multiple points. For For example, this one, it's also a second. Is it a chord? Not a chord, because it goes outside the circle, but the chord will typically be from the circumference all the way to the circumference. And then so to remember that a radius or a diameter is twice the radius. So a diameter is equal to 2 times radius. So if your diameter is 10 centimeters, then therefore your radius is just going to be half of the diameter. It's going to be 10 divided by 2, or 10 times half, which is going to give us 5. So if you are given a radius to get a diameter, you multiply it by 2. So that is the important terminology for circles. Then in the next video, we're going to dive into our first theorem, because now we understand the terminology that is used in circles, and you must fully understand this terminology.